This was my bathroom for 4 years. It's literally the size of a double-door fridge, just enough room to stand. But this is exactly where my journey in Hanoi truly began. Just look at their faces. They were absolutely speechless, trying to figure out how their dad managed to shower and get ready in this tiny box every single day. My name is Tuan. I am 38 years old and a father to 3 wonderful children. I grew up in a quiet, modest province in Vietnam. My mother was a factory worker, and back then, our family never had much in the way of money. When I first arrived in Hanoi, a vast, overwhelming city, my entire world was confined to a tiny room of barely 5 square meters. The rent was about $25 a month. Today, I took my children by the hand and led them back to that very room, the place I called home 17 years ago. I didn't bring them here to boast, but to gently show them where our family's story truly began. I want them to understand that the comfortable life we share today was woven from years of quiet struggle and enduring perseverance. The saving grace of that old boarding house was the spacious courtyard, shaded by large, forgiving trees that offered a breath of peace. But stepping inside my old room, my children were simply left speechless. They couldn't fathom a living space so incredibly small. My youngest looked up at me, his eyes full of innocent confusion, asking where I used to sit for dinner and how I even managed to bathe or use the restroom in such a tight corner. They couldn't possibly know about the fierce Hanoi summers. When the temperature soared to 40 degrees Celsius, the concrete roof absorbed the unforgiving sun, turning that tiny box into a furnace. On the hardest nights, I would pour water directly onto the floor, hoping it would cool the air just enough for me to close my eyes and sleep. Yet, that little room was my sanctuary for 4 long years. It was the quiet backdrop to my late nights of studying and long days of working. Returning after all this time, I found the room empty. Today's youth understandably seek places with a bit more light and comfort, so the rent hasn't changed much. It sits at about $30 now. These humble row houses were the reality for so many of us in Hanoi 2 decades ago, though they are slowly fading, making way for modern living. 17 years have slipped by. I am profoundly fortunate to have stepped out of that narrow doorway into a broader life, blessed with a beautiful home and a family I cherish. But as I looked down that dim hallway, I knew that behind those other closed doors are young students and dreamers, quietly struggling to find their footing in this bustling city. They are living the exact same life I lived 17 years ago. This journey back in time was a gentle lesson for my children, a wider lens through which they can view the world. I hope it teaches them to cherish what we have, knowing it is the harvest of their parents' endless effort. Looking back isn't about dwelling on the past. It fills me with a deep, quiet gratitude for the beautiful life I have been given. The hardships of yesterday were only temporary, and I truly believe that as long as we keep moving forward, a brighter tomorrow is always waiting to unfold.